being able to run your own business, do your own t-shirt company, drop ship, Shopify, whatever, gives you a better understanding of how the whole system works.
Only real content is gonna last. All that other nonsense is here today and gone tomorrow.
Even further than your work at Nike, you've done some freelance work on the side, and even we spoke about you created your own t-shirt brand once upon a time. Could you just tell us about your freelance work? And even though like you've worked at Nike, the biggest conglomerate, working with the biggest people, just your experience of your own stuff and what you've learned from that.
Absolutely. Yeah, where to start? I think for a lot of people, especially if you get like deep into corporate, or if you come straight out of school into corporate, one of the blessings and curses of being at a large company or even being on a large team is everyone has to specialize, right? And I think one of the things I spoke about earlier in my journey in business and like work in my career was the ability to wear multiple hats. And I think perspective wise, being able to run your own business, do your own t-shirt company, drop ship, Shopify, whatever, gives you a better understanding of how the whole system works. As far as like you understand the different cogs in sales and marketing and operations and legal, and you have just a better perspective of like how the business can function ultimately. And I think at the end of the day, like Nike is here to make a big impact. The best way that they can make an impact is by being a successful business, so that way they can continue to feed and support their consumers, right? If you don't fully understand that precipice, then oftentimes like people in corporate structures struggle and headbutt against their teammates because they're conflicting in the vision, right? And so to be able to like understand that and like holistically understand the pressures of like, all right, as a project manager and designing my t-shirt company, what am I thinking? Versus as a designer and trying to get my idea through, like, what am I thinking? Versus as a merchandiser and trying to fit this in the whole collection on the website, like, what am I thinking? Like, those are completely unique perspectives that in a corporate setting, those are completely different faces who all have different voices who speak to the team. And that's what like makes a corporation successful, is you have everybody, you know, essentially lobbying on behalf of the role, versus, you know, in a small business type setting, you kind of have one person who has to wear all those hats and then figure out within themselves which voice is the loudest. And the fact that you can be in corporate and you can focus on your one voice is beneficial to the business, but also doesn't necessarily grow you, because you only get used to thinking one type of way, versus in the, you know, in the pressures of running a small business, you have to wear all the hats. In order for the small business to be successful, you have to take on those perspectives and you feel the psychological, emotional pressures that you wouldn't otherwise feel in the other setting. And so I think like that was one of the big things that I wanted to get out of designing my t-shirt business. And then also like, you know, the challenge of like, all right, use your skill and bring it to market. Is there something unique that you can bring as far as like, you know, different graphic design, different expressions, more experimental stuff that like might not be able to work over here at Nike, but totally like there's a market for, there's a reason for that to exist. I think that's a core part of being a creative person and being like expressionistic, is there are some things that like you need to make for the sake of making them. And I think like as much as I love design, like that's a certain amount of like pure artistic expression that like the world needs to continue having the conversation.